Erickson was an ego psychologist who developed one of the most popular and influential theories of development. While his theory was impacted by psychologist Sigmund Freud's work, Erickson's theory centered on psychosocial development rather than psychosexual development. The stages that make up his theory are as follows.
Stage 1. Basic trust versus mistrust. As infants, we ask ourselves if we can trust the world, and we wonder if it's safe. We learn that if we can trust someone now, we can also trust others in the future. If we experience fear, we develop doubt and mistrust. The key to our development is our mother. Stage 2. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. In our early childhood, we experience ourselves and discover our body. We ask, is it okay to be me? If we are allowed to discover ourselves, then we develop self-confidence. If we are not, we can develop shame and self-doubt. Both parents now play a major role. Stage 3. Initiative versus guilt. In preschool, we take initiative, try out new things, and learn basic principles like how round things roll. We ask, is it okay for me to do what I do? If we are encouraged, we can follow our interests. If we are held back or told that what we do is silly, we can develop guilt. We are now learning from the entire family. Stage 4. Industry versus inferiority. Now we discover our own interests and realize that we are different from others. We want to show that we can do things right. We ask if we can make it in this world. If we receive recognition from our teachers or peers, we become industrious, which is another word for hard-working. If we get too much negative feedback, we start to feel inferior and lose motivation. Our neighbors and schools now influence us the most. Stage 5. Identity versus role confusion. During adolescence, we learn that we have different social roles. We are friends, students, children, and citizens. Many experience an identity crisis. If our parents now allow us to go out and explore, we can find identity. If they push us to conform to their views, we can face role confusion and feel lost. Key to our learning are our peers and role models. Stage 6. Intimacy versus isolation. As young adults, we slowly understand who we are, and we start to let go of the relationships we had built earlier in order to fit in. We ask ourselves if we can love. If we can make a long-term commitment, we are confident and happy. If we cannot form intimate relationships, we might end up feeling isolated and lonely. Our friends and partners are now central to our development. Stage 7. Generativity versus stagnation. When we reach our 40s, we become comfortable, use our leisure time creatively, and maybe begin contributing to society. Our concern is generativity. If we think that we are able to lead the next generation into this world, we are happy. If we did not resolve some conflicts earlier, we can become pessimistic and experience stagnation. People at home and at work are now who influences them most. Stage 8. Ego integrity versus despair. As we grow older, we tend to slow down and begin to look back over our lives. We ask, how have I done? If we think we did well, we develop feelings of contentment and integrity. If not, we can experience despair and become grumpy and bitter. Time to compare us with mankind.
Psychoanalytic theory by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, a clinical method for evaluating and treating pathologies seen as originating from conflicts in the psyche through dialogue between patient and psychoanalyst, and the testing theory of mind and human agency derived from it. The id.
is the bad boy of our subconscious. It is an impulsive part of the psyche that seeks pleasure and avoids pain at all costs. The id wants instant gratification. It is the part of you that grabs for food as a baby or acts to satisfy sexual desires without thinking it through. Now, the superego lies on the opposite end of the spectrum. This part of the psyche wants to control the id. If humans acted only based on receiving instant gratification and immediate pleasure, we would surely be in a whole lot of trouble. The superego unconsciously and consciously acts to follow the rules of society and tries to keep the id from causing some serious damage long term. Now, the ego lies in between the middle of these two entities, in between the id and the superego. The ego is in constant struggle to balance out these two forces and try to make pleasurable decisions without causing too much damage. It's like a well-minded adult standing in the middle of two children wanting to overthrow each other. So, how do Freud's ideas influence the way that we shape our personality? Well, one of his theories was that as a child grows into an adult, they encounter 5 psychosexual stages of development. During each of these stages of development, the id is focused on a specific erogenous zone. Now, the ego must struggle to balance out the pleasure-seeking id and the moral superego. During each of these phases, internal conflicts will result in many different types of struggles. Now, Freud said personality is formed by the process and the results of each of these struggles. So there are 5 basic stages. The first one is oral, the second one is anal, the third one is phallic, the fourth one is latency, and the fifth one is genital. Freud believes that most of our personality has actually been formed by the time that we reach age 5. At the age of 5, a child has gone through the oral, the anal, and most of the phallic stages. Now, if the child continues to struggle with balance during these stages, they will develop something called fixations. For example, stage 1 is the oral stage. Oral fixations include smoking or problems with eating. If someone fails to master potty training, or they still struggle during the anal stage, then as they grow into an adult, they may become a sloppy or a lazy person. This is actually where we get the term anal retentive. During the third stage, the phallic stage, Freud believed that boys and girls start to notice the differences in each other and develop either the Oedipus complex or penis envy. The Oedipus complex is the idea that unconsciously, young boys feel possessive of their mother, and as a result, they feel very aggressive towards their father. Freud also believed that young girls experience something called penis envy, and due to their lack of a penis, develop fixations to follow them until they're an adult. If Freud's ideas make you uncomfortable, either for the fact that he focuses explicitly on sex or that he seems to frame women as the lesser sex, you're not alone. Actually, it was a little weird talking about these into a microphone. Freud has never ceased to face criticism for his work. Unlike many psychologists, he actually did not use empirical research or studies to back up his theories. He worked solely with adults on a case-by-case basis. Still, however, the psychoanalytic perspective remains as one of the top personality theories to date. Unlike the humanist theory, Freud's focus remains in the unconscious. He explores the idea that in order to develop the root of our personality, we have to dig deeper than what we experience on the surface. Psychoanalytic therapy grew out of Freud's theories. This approach involves a therapist questioning their patient about their childhood memories or possible events in the past that might have led to struggles between the id and the superego. Freud believed that humans repress a lot of their emotions. Now, his goal during therapy sessions was to bring those unconscious feelings and emotions.
That's all.